Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Series 3 of the Best Friends Club podcast. We're here for Series 3, and we're bigger and better than ever, maybe.
Than ever.
My name is... Than ever. I am one of your hosts. My name is Charlotte.
And my name is Fizz. Welcome back!
Welcome back! We got commissioned for Series 3. The powers that be said, you can have another series. Here you go.
We've been renewed. Let's celebrate that for a second. Woo!
Well done us, well done us. And welcome back to everyone who is a long-time listener. Or if this is your first time listening, welcome to Series 3. Go back and listen to all the other episodes if you haven't, and then jump back in to this one.
Yes.
Not that you need to do that, but you might want some context.
Yeah, you should. It's also just a really great show, and we're happy to have you. Welcome. And we have some incredible videos to cover this series. I feel like we are definitely entering very fun era of Dan and Phil with this series. Would you agree?
I would absolutely agree. Yeah, there's some. I think we're getting into your prime Dan and Phil content time. We're heading into Tatting Off time. There's some great joint content videos on the horizon. So, yeah.
Before we get into that, we even though it's only been about 2 and a bit weeks since we've last recorded, so much has happened, which we should have seen coming, right? Because it's October, and October is Dan and Phil month, and so we should probably catch up on that before we get into the actual meat of the video.
Yeah, definitely. I think that we left Series 2 at a good time. We wanted to give everyone some time and space to consume the October Dan and Phil content. That's why we did it, really. We pre-planned this all.
Oh, yeah, no, it was yes, it was intentional, for sure. We're not just vibing.
We knew all the intense things that Dan and Phil were going to do. So we were like, we better give the Phannies a break and let them just enjoy that.
Yeah, otherwise it'd be an overload. But, oh my god, have we so much to catch up on. So how about we do it like a news segment, and we'll give you the headlines of things that have happened on Dan and Phil this month. There'll be an animation here, like a jingle or whatever.
That's me, sorry. If you can hear me. Hello?
Hello. Were you speaking?
No, I was just reconnecting to the
just a delay?
For fuck's sake.
Yeah, no, see, you're cutting off. Whoa. Speak.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now, but it cut you off a word into your sentence.
Yeah, no, I was just changing the internet that I was on. Is this okay?
Yes, much better.
Okay. Right, okay. Sorry, we'll go from, I don't remember, I think you were speaking.
Yes, okay. I'll just do the whole, before we get into it bit again.
Yeah.
Okay, but before we get into the meat of the episode, we do have to catch up. So let's just do that in the form of headlines on what you missed on Dan and Phil in the month of October.
So imagine that soundbite from Glee that's like, here's what you missed on Dan and Phil.
Dan and Phil, exactly. So just the headlines, right? So after we posted our last episode on October 17th, we had the first ever Phanimation on the gaming channel by our very own Queen Usagi. Incredible work, but we have to keep moving. So we could keep talking about it, but we have to keep moving. And then, of course, on October 19th, which is the actual Phanniversary, we were all seriously imagining it with an unhinged video by Dan and Phil.
I was not seriously imagining it at all.
That's true.
Seriously denying it.
I was seriously sleeping through it because I waited long enough. I couldn't stay up for it. But what an absolutely horrible thing to wake up to. I hated it.
Like, I
And
couldn't watch it, but I also couldn't take my eyes off it. Like, I kept playing it, and I was like, oh, I can't look, I can't look. And then I'd be like, oh, I just need to watch it again. Like,
yeah,
even if you told me a year ago that they were going to do something like that, I probably would have been like, haha, no, that's crazy.
yeah,
But,
because
but here we are.
but here we are. Their boundaries have been crossed. They've been destroyed. I feel like, and that's just not even. Um, I feel like after that happened, something shifted because literally 2 days later, October 21st, we had. I've called it the PVC ass photo, which is the photo that Phil took of Dan's ass in his fetish gear trousers, where you can see his face. And he just posted that, and Dan replied saying, "Excuse me, what the fuck?" Which, like, yeah, exactly. Excuse me, what the
That is just
fuck?
like insane boyfriend behavior on the
Yeah,
timeline for all to see.
for all the world to see. Like, just the pictures have also been insane because obviously we also had the America photo dump. I think around this time as well. Um,
Yeah, we did.
oh my god, so many things, so many things. Like besides the uploads that we've had all of the Instagram posts. We had obviously the Phanniversary jumper, the 2009
Mm-hmm.
jumper. Oh
Very
god.
nice.
Yes, very nice is not the word I would use. But it's very good. Like it's very it's a fun jumper, but it makes me feel a bit insane that they are commemorating the pin-off anniversary like this.
Yeah. Like, if you'd have ever told me that they would acknowledge the Phanniversary, I would have laughed in your face because in all of their 15 years, they have acknowledged it one single time in 2015, and that was a comment in a live show, and that's all we got.
Yes. Yes. The 6 year one. So it's been um almost 6 years. So it's been like 9 years since then. So
Yeah.
absolutely just we're all dying, first of all. Um but yeah, it was also like the pin-off anniversary, which is when they uploaded the Phanniversary Newlyweds Game. I have a bone to pick with them about this because it's
Okay.
not the Newlyweds Game. It's the Who's More Likely to game. The Newlyweds Game is what they did at Summer in the City in 2015, I want to say, where they are asked questions about the other and they have to write the answer. And if they have to have the same answer on the. That's the Newlyweds Game where you have the same answer.
Yes, yeah, it is. But Fizz, just if they wanted to call that the Newlyweds Game, we'll
Yeah,
let them
yeah,
call it that. Like, that's okay.
that's okay. You know what? Yeah, okay. But I'm gonna hold that grudge. But yeah, okay, all right. We already know though. That was date night with Dan and Phil. That was the Newlyweds Game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, spoiler, maybe we are talking about the Newlyweds Game video today. Who would have guessed?
Who would have guessed? we
Not
we
me.
totally not I. We definitely did not tease it to hell and back. It's just exciting. The timing of it is just amazing, though.
Yeah, it came at the right time.
Yeah. So, Charlotte, do you want to tell the listeners what we're discussing today? Exactly.
Yes, so today, the next video in our chronological Dan and Phil joint content list would have been the Who's More Likely To video from 2014 that Dan and Phil did at VidCon, which Dan then uploaded on his channel in September 2014. And Fizz had the craziest idea to also watch the Newlyweds Game that they uploaded a mere 2 weeks ago, and we thought that it would be really fun to watch them both and compare them because they're essentially the same video, just 10 years apart.
Yes. Different questions, obviously, in a
Mm-hmm.
post coming out universe, in a post gay universe, they have different questions. But we look into like how the energies are different in both of these videos.
Yes. So if you also want to be hit by a ton of bricks and also I don't know, just think about horrible things like comparing Dan and Phil content 10 years apart, then strap yourselves in and come and listen along with us.
Yes. So like Charlotte said, this video is actually a live performance that they did at VidCon in 2014. In the video itself, they introduce it, and Dan says, we were asked to do it by the people at VidCon. And I think it makes sense because 2014, they're getting bigger audiences in the US as well. And I think people are showing up at these conventions just to meet them. So it makes sense that VidCon, I'm assuming, maybe not Hank and John Green, but someone over there was like, hey, you can have like 15 minutes on stage to do whatever you want. And they were like, okay, let's do this. Yeah.
So, VidCon 2014, I remember very vividly. This was sort of like, I think, the first like proper year that I was like into Dan and Phil, like sort of following them along. And for anyone who was also around at this time, when Dan and Phil went to a convention, that was your weekend. Like, you had made no plans. You would sit at home in your bedroom with your laptop and you would scour the internet for crumbs of content of
Yeah.
Dan and Phil at this various convention. Like, that was my entire weekend. People would make plans with me and be like, I'm so sorry, I can't. I have to sit on my laptop and wait for Dan and Phil to do something. Like we do now when we wait for the meet and greets to start. I would like be sitting on my phone waiting for the meet and greet pictures to roll on in. And at that time, like, we didn't have, I don't think the original like meeting fan account had started.
No,
So
not
you had
yet.
to scour and find them yourself. You had to like scroll through Twitter trying to find these like meet and greet pictures. And I was having a look through some of my tweets at the time that they did this. And so I think this was just a thing that used to happen a lot back in the internet anyway. I think we've sort of lost our way a little bit with archiving. And I don't think people do it as religiously anymore. But I literally had an entire folder on my laptop of like pictures of Dan and Phil just at VidCon 2014, and I would have specific folders on my laptop from like each convention, like each year, and pictures that I'd find and save.
Right, same. No, maybe not conventions, but I understand your process because I had a Dan folder, Phil folder, and a Dan and Phil folder. So I understand the organization urge that you have. It makes sense. And where would we be without it?
Exactly. But yeah, so that was VidCon. This was also the VidCon, fun fact, where we had the famous quote from Dan when they were on that panel together. And he says, "Can Phil express an opinion?" That's also this
It
VidCon.
is. It is. Yes, yes, yes. Oh my god. But that's what, right? Like, why was I watching a panel with like Fun for Louis and um who else? Like all these other YouTubers that I don't care about, but I had them on Snapchat just in case they took a selfie with Dan and Phil. And then obviously immediately removed them until the next
Like,
convention.
honestly, like, I think I'd do the same. Like, I'd put notifications on for all the vloggers that were there in the hopes that they would upload like a video or like content, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, yes, let me look at this really fast."
Yeah, literally. Catrific, like we knew the thing is like we knew who they'd be hanging out with sometimes. Like we knew they'd see Louise, we knew
Oh yeah.
they'd see Cat, we knew they'd maybe hang out, here and there. I think they did Fine Bros for the first time in 2014 as well, so that was like a whole thing that we had to follow. And be like, where's the Dan and Phil react to da da da. Crazy.
Another fact about this VidCon, and I think just VidCons in general, is I'd say if I was looking through tweets from the time, Dan and Phil's meet and greet at VidCon was 6 hours long.
Yes, it was really long. I remember it was like an insane amount of time.
And it was like one of the longest that they had because there were so many people that obviously wanted to meet them. Obviously they had breaks in between, but it was 6 hours long. Like, that was their entire day.
Yeah, like a whole day of just meeting people. That's crazy. That's like unheard of these days, I feel like. I think people, celebrities and stuff, they do like, even Dan and Phil, I don't think they go beyond a year, sorry, an hour, or maybe an hour
A
and a
year?
half.
How long do you want their meet and greets to be?
A year long to meet all of their um yeah, 6 hours is
It's
crazy.
crazy long. Like, there must be some, like, labour laws against that or something now. There
Now,
must have
yeah,
been some
probably.
then. There must have been then. Like, I couldn't go to work. I mean, obviously, I know they had breaks, but even so, that's crazy. Imagine them doing, like, a 6-hour meet and greet before every tit show.
I know, just like meeting the entire audience, I think.
Literally, that's what it would be.
Yeah. Also, I mean, even if not that, if people got like more than a few minutes of time, I feel like they would do it if they were not like human. They'd be like, yeah,
Yeah,
let's
if it
just
was like,
chat for like
if
chat
we
for
could
like
meet Robot Dan and Phil, that'd be fine. We can chat to
superhuman
them for,
info.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, shall we jump into the video? Because I feel like this episode is going to be a long one. We have a lot to discuss. I have 3
Yes.
pages worth of notes.
Oh my god. Yes. Okay. Whoa. I I have I will probably just yap. I have notes
That's
that are very
fine.
small. Yeah.
That's what we're
Um.
here for. We're here for yapping. So
Yes.
my first comment about this video is it starts with Dan and Phil in Dan's bedroom saying that they filmed this at VidCon and then they uploaded it, and just sort of introducing the video, and then the actual game, Who's More Likely to,
Hmm.
starts. And I noted down that Phil's like first line. Oh no, this is in the bedroom actually. Sorry. Phil says the words, "Performing in front of 10 people makes me want to wet myself." And I'm like,
Yes.
that's crazy to me. Like, he's on a world tour. He's on his 3rd world tour around the
Yes.
country, performing in front of thousands of people, and he was nervous performing in front of however many people there were at VidCon.
Yeah, and that was only for like 15, 20 minutes. He's doing
Yeah,
like 2 hours, something with an intermission. He's doing that every single day. He's getting ready to do that right now as we're recording. I think there's a
he
TID show
is.
today.
There is.
So proud of Phil. He's
His
come such a long
growth.
way.
He really has.
Good for
That was my
him.
note. I thought, oh, Phil, you've come so far.
Oh. Um
And then
yeah.
in contrast to that, I have they basically introduced the video. They thought, oh, we'd play this Who's More Likely to game.
Mm.
And they say that they've only lived together for 2 years at this point, and I sort of had to pause and be like, no, what do you mean you've only lived together for 2 years?
That's
Like,
not correct. In
that
London,
sounds.
yes, but not.
I'm like, no, like, you've lived together for thousands of years. What do you mean?
But that's also incorrect. They've lived together for like 4 years at this point. But no, like
Had they? I
exactly.
didn't sit and work it out. Yeah, 2011, 13,
Yeah,
14. No, 2. That's only 2. Oh, I missed out.
2011.
I missed out 2012.
Yeah.
I went straight. I went 2011, 2013. Yeah,
Yeah.
2014. I can count.
Yeah, for sure.
One of my first notes was like, I think it's just the nature of what this video is and like the context surrounding it. But they are so awkward on that stage and like interacting with themselves and interacting with like the audience. Like, it feels
Mm,
just so like there's a level that like they're not comfortable doing this.
yes, I noted that Phil is really awkward, but Dan can definitely like at this point he can present, but I think the fact that they're standing like for most of it, or maybe just the intro and the outro, they are standing and they don't really know what to do with their limbs yet because they're so used to sitting down and doing videos, right? Um, yeah, I think Dan can do like stage stuff at this point, but Phil just is definitely not used to it.
Absolutely not. And now it's making me wonder, like, this was their only sort of practice, I suppose, of doing something like this in front of an audience before, like, tatting off. So,
Hmm.
obviously, I think they obviously would have done VidCon and, like, Playlist Live the following year. I can't remember if they did anything like this the following year. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't remember. They did panels and
No.
stuff. I know that much. They did
Yeah, but I
interviews.
don't think they did like an actual thing on stage. But it's just making me wonder, like, what then led them to decide, hi, I know what we should do. Let's go on a world tour in front of thousands of
Mm,
people every night. Like, how do you go from being sort of I suppose maybe it's just the nature of like what this is, and it wasn't like something that they'd created themselves. It was just a quick game. But
yeah.
how do you go from being so nervous and like looking so awkward in front of all these thousands of people at VidCon to then deciding to go on a world tour?
Yeah, same. I mean, again, like I think Dan has like the theater kid gene in him, so he probably was always itching to be performing something. I'm very curious to know like how he convinced Phil to also do it with him, and if it took that much convincing. Maybe because it's like a scripted thing, and they were only ever going to get better and more comfortable with it, whereas this was just such a, it's not just like a not scripted thing, like things could just go wrong even in these like 20 minutes, so I feel like they were very like deer in the headlights about it.
Oh, absolutely. I also made a note of the fact that because this was at VidCon, I mean, I presume
Mm,
the majority of the people there watching this were their audience, but there were
yeah,
probably loads of other people there who weren't their audience and who didn't watch them, who weren't like a fan of them, who just sort of wanted time to kill at VidCon and thought, I know I'll go and sit and watch this panel or this like thing that Dan and Phil are doing. So I
yeah,
suppose there was like an added layer there. Whereas if you compare that to their tours, everyone going to that tour and buying those tickets is there for them.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, you can like tell they're a bit terrified
Yeah,
just off the
absolutely.
appearance. Yeah. Catrific is here as well. Catrific
That
Capital. Welcome to the
was
Better
such like an
Podcast
that was
universe.
such an offhand comment. Katrific is here as well. That's all we're gonna say about that.
She's our moderator, if you will. But no, it's fun that they got Kat to do this.
It was fun. Like they were good friends there. I wrote a note actually. Like I don't know if they're still friends with Kat. Do they still interact with her?
I think they, I mean, they are social media friendly. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know that they've publicly interacted for a long time. We'll see, I guess. She hasn't been to like a tit show yet, as far as
No,
I
I
know.
think, but she lives in LA as far as I'm aware, and she wasn't at the LA show. Unless she lives
Mm,
somewhere else. I'll be honest, I don't keep up with the woman, so I
same,
couldn't tell you what she's doing.
same. But she comes up just randomly on the timeline, just the discussion of her.
Yeah.
Um,
Where are you, Katrific, in 2024?
in 2024, fine
She became
Catrific.
she became like a League of Legends gamer or something, didn't she? Or did she do something with like gambling and poker? Catherine made
Yes,
that up.
she made videos about card games, poker, like you said.
But yeah, I feel like she got in big into gambling,
Good for her. Good.
which is an
You,
insane thing to say.
you go, girl. It happens. Hey, YouTubers are doing wild things these days.
Should I see if she's still on YouTube?
Should you? I
I'm
don't
just
think
having a look now.
actually I did check this recently. She's
2 months
not.
ago.
What?
She uploaded a video 2 months ago
Saying what?
about her ADHD journey as a neurodivergent woman.
Slay. Good for her.
Oh yeah, but 6 years ago she posted why I'm quitting YouTube.
Hmm. And then life after YouTube, and then I'm back. Yeah.
Crazy.
Crazy.
I never watched her content. I only watched her vlogs for Dan and Phil. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Same. Do her videos count as joint content? Let's not answer that right now.
We don't need more content to discuss.
It's true. It's true. We have so much to get through. Shall we get into it though? Because now they are
Yeah.
starting answer questions.
Now they're starting answering the questions.
Okay. So the first one is, who would survive a zombie apocalypse? They said
Who would die
Dan.
first? Who would die
Who
first?
is it? Die first?
Yeah, who would die
Oops,
first?
my bad. They did say Phil would die first. I
Which is
think,
correct.
which is correct. But I oppose this. I think Phil would be the final girl, and he would not die randomly. I think he would stay until the end and then die at the end.
I feel like he'd only do that because he'd hide out. He'd be like, oh, my tiny ankles and my soft skin, I can't go outside.
Yeah, if he's not the final person, he's dying much later. And I don't think he's dying from like zombie fication. I think he's just dying because he gets very weak and then dies. That's bleak.
That's what you're
Sorry.
saying.
Do you think right now they would also say like that Phil would die first?
Absolutely. I think they would. I think they answered that. I'm sure that they've answered that recently in something.
Yeah, and I think the whole premise of like we're all doomed, like the prologue, is that Dan has lived through so much and now he hangs out with the skeleton of Phil. I think that's the
Yeah.
lore.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's the law.
so Dan confirmed lives longer. Okay. So the second one is most likely to fangirl over famous people. Obviously, this is
Obviously,
Dan.
Dan.
Obviously, Phil was already like a micro celebrity when Dan started watching him, or
That's
before he
so
started.
true.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
yeah. Dan is there like, oh my god, a celebrity.
And what's funny is like he doesn't mention a lot of celebrities, but he does mention YouTubers like Community Channel and someone else. But it makes sense that he's the fangirl. You know what's funny? Just a couple of days ago, Curtis Connor. I don't know if you watch the
Yes,
show.
he did. I haven't watched that clip yet.
Okay, so in his news video, he's like, "I am a dinosaur. Like I used to watch Amazing Phil before Dan and Phil," and he posted. No, not posted. He used a screenshot of one of Phil's videos from like 2008 from like his uni days, which is crazy that Curtis Connor and Dan were watching Phil at the same time. Like, what a way to realize how big Phil really was back in the day. Apparently, Phil already had like 75K subscribers when he met Dan, which, whoa, doesn't seem like a lot, but back then, that's almost
There were
100,000K.
honestly, there were men fighting for their lives for Phil's attention back then,
Yeah,
and somehow Dan got through.
that's it's because he's exactly Phil's type. Or back in the day, he was Phil's type. Like that's what it
He
is.
still is. He still is. He is still Phil's type.
I mean, yes, but okay, I guess he is. I don't know. Phil is a bit of a slag. He's like, I like all men. I don't care. I love buff men. I love Dan. I love whatever. Kenji Six, remember? He loves the concept of women and all men.
That I mean, we're gonna get onto that, but that was such a funny line delivery.
Uh, okay,
We love
will
you,
get
Phil.
on that. We love you, Phil. We do.
One thing I will say about this video is they premised this video or like the event at VidCon by saying that this wasn't pre-planned and they did it like 10 minutes before. But they obviously must have vetted all the questions. And I
Yeah.
think the biggest, I mean, we're going to get onto this because we're going to go through all the questions, but one of the biggest things for this was like, it all feels so scripted. It's all the questions that were picked for this video are so like, oh, that's a like Dan is not on fire branded question. That's an amazing Phil branded question.
Yeah.
That's a Dan is not on fire branded question. Let's pick all of these.
Yeah.
And that'll work for the video. Like they were definitely trying to present that like shiny YouTube brand to the people.
To the people again, like he said, I think it also comes from a place of giving the viewers like a taste of domesticity with
And we were
stories.
eating it up. Like the question,
Yeah,
so we're going to get onto it, but like the question about like the cereal,
Yes.
Like, oh my
Huge.
god. Like, yes, please tell me who's the most likely to eat cereal. I want to know about the fact. I want confirmation that you live in the same house and you eat breakfast together.
Yeah, that one is coming soon. But the next one is very funny because that I think it relates to the new video, so we can talk about that. But
Yes,
the
it
next
does.
one, yes, the next one is most likely to drop their phone in the toilet. They answer Dan.
Which, again, I
Uh,
agree with, yeah.
yes, I agree now. But even for now, there was obviously the question of who has the longest screen time. I think. Um, and so we know why it's Dan who would drop the phone on the toilet. It's because he can't pee without a video playing. So, like, we have that connection now. Even though Phil obviously does watch TikTok and stuff, I'm sure, everywhere. But no, I just mean that, like, we have the background info of that now because they have told us that Dan can't do anything without his phone playing a video or just in his hand to stop his thoughts forming. It's fun. So the next one is the cereal one, most likely to eat the other's cereal. I feel like I don't know if someone asked this. I don't think a real person would have asked this. They're just like, let's
No,
just put it in.
this is what I mean. It's such like a baited question because they've
Mm,
obviously brought this up before, and like the answer is obvious because they've talked about it before. But again, I think I made a note about this. I think it fits with the whole like, oh, this is a Dan is not on fire question. This is an amazing Phil question, and the whole thing is so sort of branded. But I suppose that makes sense because it is a YouTube convention, and they are there to present the Dan is not on fire brand, an amazing Phil brand. So
yeah,
I suppose it makes sense that they're like doing this like best of bits for any new people watching this at VidCon who are
yeah.
like, oh, that's really funny, like that man does that. Hee hee, that's hilarious. I'll go and watch his content.
Yeah. It also just like if you don't know them, it tells you immediately that they live together because these other questions don't really. So you're like,
Yeah.
oh, and they were roommates. Oh my god, they were
Oh my
roommates.
god. Oh my god, they were roommates.
The next one is most likely to get arrested. The answer Dan back in
Yeah,
the
I
day.
agree with that one.
Same. I did say there's a 50-50% chance on both of them currently. Just, but more, I don't know.
I mean, they're together all the time anyway, so if one of them is getting arrested for something, the other clearly is involved as well, so they're both getting arrested.
Yeah. You know, when you said that, like, yes, but when you said that, I was like, I heard Phil going, can Dan come?
Phil's there getting arrested for something, and he's like, can my friend come with me? Like, can you arrest him as well so we can be in a cell together?
He doesn't do too well alone.
As we well know.
As we is well documented. Um, the next one is who's most likely to fall asleep at 5 a.m. They did say Dan. Um,
Hmm.
he goes on his Wikipedia expeditions or whatever, and they talk about that in the 2024 one as well.
They do. Do you think that they watched this back before doing the Newlyweds one?
Good question. No.
I think no, they didn't. I don't think they ever rewatched their old videos, but it's interesting that there are so many similar questions in both of them.
Yeah, but we get slightly different answers sometimes, so it's very
Yeah.
like fun. But this knowledge, I feel like we've always had, like this whole staying up until because it's a joke he constantly made, like, oh, I'd never sleep, I'm always on Wikipedia. Um, but yeah, I think they both are also just like night owls at this point. I don't think Phil also has a very healthy sleep schedule.
If anything, I think Phil is going to bed earlier,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
even so, but the thing is, I would say they're night owls, but like they don't have anything to get up for in the morning. It's not like they have like an 8 a.m. job they need to be there for because they work for themselves. They can wake up at like 10:30
Yeah.
and so they can afford to go to sleep at like 1 a.m. So, you know, I
I
don't blame them.
Yeah, I really appreciate that you think 10:30 is sleeping in because to me it is noon. 10:30 is early to
Look,
me. I also am currently not working. To be fair, I'm not working, but
maybe that should be one of my pre show questions. What time would you lie in until? if you didn't have anything to
Ooh,
do the next day.
ooh, that's a
I'd
fun
love to
one.
know. I'd love to know what their definition of like a lie-in is.
Yeah. One of those just like domestic questions. Yeah, I think they would like that. I think they'd pick it. You should ask. Or someone else can. I don't know. Um, the next one is so funny because
Oh my god, it is.
Kat asks it, and it's such a pointed like. So it's basically like the most likely to never reply to a friend's text, and she makes such a face, and everyone knows what the answer is.
Yeah, it's obviously
Um,
Dan.
it's obviously that. Um, but I'm just so obsessed with how she asks it. She's just like, "Who's most likely to never reply to a friend's text?" Staring daggers at Dan.
And we've had like evidence of this as well since. I can't remember the exact points that Phil has said it, but he's definitely made comments like, I've literally had your friends message me like, oh, like, is Dan
Alive.
alive?
Yeah.
Like, is Dan doing this? Or like, if someone's making plans with them, the plans go through Phil because Phil won't reply to the text.
Yeah. Do you think he's better now, though? What do you think?
Um, I want to say maybe a little bit, but also probably not. I think the only person that he would ever regularly respond to is Phil.
Yeah, insane because they live together. Um,
Yeah.
I think he might reply in group chats, but not one to one. Maybe.
I bet he's definitely like a silent lurker in a group chat. Like everyone else will be chatting and he'll just be there like reading it all. Like, cool, I'm not going to respond to any of this, but I'm here and I'm listening.
Yeah, we are so similar. I mean, I guess it depends on the group chat, but um, he's very real. Like one of my notes was like, "That's very real. Good for Dan." Um, the next one is most likely to win Britain's Got Talent. I don't think either of them are getting very far.
No.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, what is their talent? What are they showing off as their
Yeah,
talent? I don't think in the nicest way possible, I don't think either of them have a talent that is worthy of Britain's Got Talent.
exactly. Like you've seen the auditions. Like people are doing insane things.
Yeah.
And I just don't think they are
Like,
making it past the audition. What are they even doing?
yeah. Like, do you think is Phil like standing up there doing some sort of like snowcoplasm trick?
No. That's what I'm saying. Like it's
And the
just
judges are there like, yes, you're through. We want more of this. Give us more snowcoplasm.
go, you boy, go. They also then make the audience flare their nostrils, and then Dan says, "You all look like a bunch of hippos," because of the flared nostrils, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, they should just not do these things. Like that's one of the things I'm like, that was an awkward thing that you said, and you are facing the consequences of your actions. Um, Also, Phil's like opera singing voice is very funny because like
Yeah,
it's
no.
good. I think it sounded good back. We were like, "Ooh, singer," um,
But
but
now I'm
obviously
like, no.
no. Yeah.
Honestly,
Uh,
like the whole sort of vibe of this is just like, it's so cringy. Like,
it
I found it actually
is.
painful to watch bits of it. But
Yeah.
I think it is just the nature of the time. I think it's how the video was like formatted and the fact that they were doing it on a stage at VidCon.
Yeah.
But I was watching bits and I was like, oh, like I was just cringing inside at like the vibes of it. But then
Yeah.
I also made a note of like, maybe we need to embrace that. Maybe we do need to embrace the cringe. And like, yeah, this is a cringy video, but it wasn't back then. Like, we were eating this up.
We really were for so many reasons. Like we were getting a few new new bits of info that now like
Yeah.
are just like they're just in the back of our head. Like, we're like, yeah, yeah, like Dan dropped his phone in the toilet probably or whatever. Like, or the next one where they talk about horror films. They're like, who's most likely to get scared at a horror film? Phil is a well established horror fan. Like he loves horror films. His videos, his art house era as it was, is like well documented. So it's very funny to ask them like who's more scared because it's obviously Dan. Um, I really like this one bit that Phil says. He lists all of Dan's fears, and then he goes, "The girl from the ring in a tree in the dark with a moth," which I think Phil would also make that joke now. It's
Yeah,
such
he absolutely would.
yeah, like it's such a quintessential like Phil joke. It's great. It's so funny. I think it just came out. His like natural urges to make fun of Dan came out, and he seemed like the least nervous when he said that.
That was like Phil coming out. Like that was just a
Yes.
conversation between them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, next one. Next one's very funny. It's the most likely to buy an animal without telling the other one. Still
Again, obviously
Phil.
Phil.
Phil. Still Phil. Do we have Norman origins, like whose idea it was, or
Oh, I don't know actually. I feel like it was
they?
probably definitely like a joint decision.
Yeah.
I feel like it maybe more so came from Phil, but then Dan obviously embraced it with like the aquascaping of the aquarium.
Yes, he was like, "Ooh, I can do this. So let's go get a
Yeah,
fish." Yeah. Um.
that's so crazy. Remember Norman? Wow, what a wild time.
Whoa. Yeah, I know. Like they have had a pet together.
That is crazy. I mean, I know it was a fish, but that's crazy.
A fish. A fish is a valid pet. Hello. But yeah. And the hamster thing immediately, like that, the quick argument that just happened on stage, they were like, Phil wants a hamster, and he's like, I really want a hamster, and he's like, you can't, it's on our rent agreement. um but hamster is not a pet for them. I truly hope, like, I'm glad they didn't get a hamster.
Speaking of pets, there has been like rumors circulating that the thing they're announcing in March after tour is that they're gonna get a dog. What do you think about that?
Ooh, that's plausible, I think. But would they tease us with it? That's the thing. Like, I feel like it would be job related, not personal life related.
Yeah, no, I also think so. But like, dog is definitely because it
On the
was something
horizon.
that they were going to do last year, if you remember from the pre-show
Mm-hmm.
question that was asked. Dan vaguely mentioned it was something that they were going to be doing last year, but then it got scrapped because the tour happened. And
Right.
people were like, well, like that would make sense. Like if it was going to be a dog, like they couldn't get a dog and then go on tour.
Hmm.
So, a dog
Hmm.
2025? Possibly.
Possibly. Oh my god, that we. Oh my god, the life stages that are happening right now.
The thing is, I feel like as well that would be a big lifestyle change for them, like having that dog, because they'd
Yeah.
have to go out and take it on walks. They'd have to have a routine. They couldn't just lounge about and have lie-ins and do whatever they wanted. Like, so I suppose it's what their future plans are after this
Yeah.
tour.
Yeah.
Who
Like they
knows?
are just gonna chill. Yeah. But they also offhandedly said next door recently. Maybe it's like nothing.
Yes, I did hear that.
Yeah. I don't know where it's
I
from.
feel,
Same. Like I just heard it.
yeah, no, I heard that as well.
Mm.
Who knows? I
Who
definitely don't
knows?
feel like this is the last tour. I don't think it's going to be the last tour. They have to do another one.
They have to do another one. Same. I agree. Um. But whoa, a dog would be crazy. I hope
It
they
would
get a
be
girl
crazy.
dog. I hope they get a girl dog.
Let us know. Send us in your tweets or messages on Tumblr. What do you think the March 2024 or 2025 plans are going to be?
Yeah. Interesting. Let us know. So next one. Just to get back on track. Most likely to offend someone without meaning to. Again, this feels
Obviously,
like
Dan.
such a yeah. This feels like such a everyone knows what the answer is. Let's just do it. But I did make a note where Dan was like defending himself, and he was like, "I have this sarcastic tone that no one gets," which is something they bring up nowadays as well. Like Phil talked about like Dan's tone that no one
Mm-hmm.
understands because he like mumbles and stuff, and he's the only one who gets it. Which like okay, weird flex, sure. But again, like 10 years ago, he was still talking about his sarcastic tone that no one understood.
Okay, what was the next question? Hit us,
Okay.
Fizz.
Next question. Who's most likely to get lost without a GPS or a map? Most
One, two,
obvious answer.
three. Phil Lester.
It's Philister. Amazing. I think, did they not answer this in the new one as well? Was this a question?
Yeah, I think they did. I'm pretty sure that they did.
Because Phil talked about his lack of spatial awareness and directionally challengedness. I'm also the same, by the way. I don't drive.
That's cute.
Um, Thanks. um, I can navigate like for other people, but I get lost quite often. It's bad. It's bad. So the next one is who's most likely to cry at a film?
1, 2, 3. Daniel Howell.
They talk about The Fault in Our Stars, which again, moment in time, summer of 2014. That was like Tiffio's summer.
Oh, literally, I remember reading that book for the first time, and I finished reading it whilst I was at college, and like I literally had to like go and sit in the bathrooms
Oh my
and
god,
cry.
that's so sad. I took my friends to watch the movie for my birthday. I was like, guys, this should be fun. Let's go watch The Fault in Our Stars.
'Twas not fun.
It was not
I
fun. No, no,
wonder.
no.
I wonder if the kids nowadays know about The Fault in Our Stars. They'll never
How could they
know.
not? How could they not know? I mean, oh, like they don't know its like significance or like the
Yeah, or
knowledge.
just know about it. Yeah, like
Uh,
that was culture at the time.
yeah, like everyone had the okay on their tumblers. They had
Absolutely.
they were putting cigarettes in their mouth and not lighting them.
Yeah.
I think that's the closest we got to as a generation to like not smoking on like a large scale. John Green did a lot for the non-smoker
He
community.
really did. He really did. Maybe okay will be our always. You
Literally,
know, famous quotes like that.
people still quote that, not quote it, but like they memeify it. They still say like maybe da 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 will be our always. I feel like it's so evergreen. You like no one gets it. Kids these days do not get it.
You weren't there, man. You don't know.
You don't know what we've been through. Also them talking about Fault in Our Stars is so funny to me because they say the phrase manly tears, which is so 2014.
They were really trying to like boost up that masculine image.
Mm, I think at some point, this is like not related to this, but I know that Phil has said the word metrosexual in his life.
Absolutely.
It's just like, whoa, how far we've come.
They were trying so hard to be straight.
You start, you like imagine telling that Dan that he dresses up as a sexy nun. 10 years, no,
Yeah,
8 years
10.
later. 8 years later.
That's crazy. The thing is, I mean, he's always talked about gender, not at this time, but definitely like a little bit later on. Like,
Mm,
Dan gender, I think is the phrase that people use.
yes, yes.
So he was definitely having these thoughts. But again, it was probably that whole thing of he was having them, but he didn't really know what to do with them. So he just sort of locked them away so he didn't have to think about them.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, but I mean, if he's on stage, he's not gonna like sit and do his whole bit on gender at VidCon.
No, definitely not.
Definitely not.
The final question.
The final question before we get to like a very huge moment, but the final question is most likely to leave their fly undone and not realize. One, two, three. Phil Lester. Are you saying it?
I had my microphone on mute.
We're keeping this in. It's okay.
But I said amazing Phil. Let it be known I said amazing Phil.
The lore behind this is that Phil did I think it was in Manchester when they were still in Manchester.
No, it was
They
London. It was the London Diddle.
no, I mean yes, but they also did something on stage in 2012
Oh,
because Phil did a video about this. I watched this recently actually. So Phil did like a whole it wasn't anything like this, like as huge as this, but they were on stage for something. I think at Playlist Live, and he did the entire thing, and then at the end of it, he realized that he did the whole bit with his fly undone.
That's so
Um,
Phil.
that's so Phil. But yeah, so Dan was like, stand up, show them. Which again, like, it's so weird. Like, no one just does this. Like,
And
show
then,
your
yeah.
crotch to the to the audience.
And then he says the phrase, "You're safe today." Safe from what?
Safe for what? Literally. And the things we've been made to see since then, just to
I'm glad
impress
we're
us,
safe.
anyone, yeah.
I'm glad we're
Legalized
safe.
boys, anyone. The ass flap from the Spooky Week video, anyone. We've seen too much of them, I feel like, at this
Yeah, I
point.
don't need to see any more.
Yeah. I would like to see more of Phil. Just sorry to be a sicko, but Phil, feel free to show off some arms sometimes. They're very
Some
nice.
thigh. Show off some
Some,
thigh.
literally, yeah. The tummy, perhaps, maybe.
A little crop top.
A little crop top moment. Another one. Yeah. But
Do it for the
then,
people.
yeah. The standing up leads us into a very iconic moment in the fandom.
It does. Now, if you weren't here, we say this all the time, but if you weren't here, then you don't know and you
You
won't
don't
get it.
understand.
You weren't there. You don't understand. I woke up to this on a Saturday morning and I bawled my eyes out for about half an hour.
No, I understand. I really do. Oh my god. I need to look for my tweets from this day. Do you know, like, the date?
I have my tweet. It was the 28th of June, 2014.
Okay. Please read your tweet
So,
out.
we haven't even said what it is yet, but if you watch the video, then you know. So, they finish the video. They both look at each other, and Dan says, "Oh, we're real friends," and they hug. Now, we're saying this to you now in 2024, and it's like, okay, whatever, they've hugged, like, we've seen way worse, but you don't understand. At this point, this was the most amount of physical, like, touch and
Yes.
physical affection we had ever seen from them. Ever, ever, ever. So, we were all like, oh my god, what on earth? And like, you've got to remember at the time that this, like, shipping them was so big. Like, the community surrounding them was getting so big. Everyone on the internet was like reading fan fiction. They were making fan art. It was all there, but obviously, like, it wasn't something we were openly talking about in, like, their spaces. And so the fact to see them hug and show this, like, physical affection, which obviously I know you can hug friends, obviously, but this was such a big moment. It's like, oh my god, like, they're hugging, like, they're touching, like, this is crazy. It was
Crazy.
honestly insane. But yeah, I cried for about half an hour when I saw this. I was literally, like, tweeting my friend just in all caps lock, like, I can't believe I woke up, I'm crying actual tears, what is going on? I can't believe that they filmed this and Dan might upload it onto his channel. I can't believe. I was like, I'm going to put this day in my calendar, and I did. So I have a picture of my calendar from 2014, and it's just like a photo of the 28th, and it just says fan hug.
You're so real for that.
Like, we were so insane. And then, like, I was also thinking about, like, comparing it to the stuff we've got now, and, like, the sort of physical contact we've seen from them. And I was thinking, like, how is seeing them compare hand sizes, like, more devastating? How is that more emotionally devastating for me than seeing this hug? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, this is the only time we've seen them hug. Like,
Yeah. Isn't that mad?
still.
15 years. 15 years, and we've seen them hug once, and it was a terrible hug.
It was such a bad hug. Like, it was so awkward. I think it was because like Phil fully was not expecting it.
Absolutely
Um,
not.
I find it so interesting that Dan went for like the full hug. It was such a meet and greet hug, right? Because Dan goes for the full, like, him over your shoulders hug, and Phil goes for the half hug, and he like squeezes his eyes shut and everything. It's such an awkward. I would love to see them hug now.
I don't think I would, actually. I think that would be worse.
I don't know. Like, I can't picture it, so I'm like, can you do it so that I know?
Maybe that should be my pre-show question. Can you
Can
guys hug?
can you like? I feel like Dan will look you dead in the eye and be like, "Is this what you want? You freak, you sicko."
Is this some sort of kink? That's what he'd say.
Is this a fan fiction thing? And it's like, yeah, we need the inspo. We need it for our descriptions. Please do it.
Honestly, crazy though. Like thinking then, like the stuff we've got now, like the way we're freaking out about them, like touching hands and like holding hands, and Dan touching Phil's shoulder. Like we're having the same reactions to that as we are to this hug, which is mad.
Yeah, like they're right to make fun of us with going on. Oh my god, they're touching. Um, God, it. Oh my god. But yeah, that was the end of that video.
That was the end of that video. Other than we flip back to them in the present day, and we get the first announcement of danandphilshop.com.
Yes.
danandphilshop.com is born.
And all of the original merch with llama hats, lion hats, mugs, pencil cases.
So nostalgic.
The masks, remember the masks?
The masks. That's crazy that they sold them. That's bizarre.
Yeah. Also interesting, they were also teasing the gaming channel at this point because it's 2 days away from Project X.
Which is so fun that we're now going to discuss the Newlyweds Get video, which is on Phanniversary Games.
Right now, you can go watch it and receive psychic damage, just like we did.
But yeah, so they announced Project X. Well, they teased Project X, aka the gaming channel, and then we end with the classic "Dan is not on fire" sexy end screen dance.
Live.
And again, we've mentioned this before, but I think that they would eat this up in 2024. I think they do it great.
Yeah, maybe another pre-show question so that they can end pre-show.
No, see, I asked. I think they've been asked that, and I also asked Dan that on his tour, and he ripped up the piece of paper. So.
Oh, damn. Okay. I guess we know how he feels about that. That's okay.
And then my final note before we discuss some outfit ratings and video ratings. The description, Dan has linked Phil's channel in the description, but he's put the phrase, check out my BFFL Phil.
Yes.
Does that just not make you want to cry?
You know what? On Tumblr, when I had my extensive tagging system, all of like the best friend type posts went in, like that was my name for it. It was check out my Biffle Phil in all caps. It's such a cute thing to say. I know he's probably like, ugh, ironic, but it's so cute.
It is so cute. Best friend for life. Best friend for life.
In 2014, he was saying that.
Crazy. So, shall we go on to some outfit ratings?
Yes, let's do it.
So, Dan is wearing a lovely, I think it's an Alexander McQueen jumper.
Givenchy, no?
Givenchy, yeah, you're right. We haven't seen this in a while. I think he's got rid of this.
Same.
A lovely red plaid jumper with a little dog on it. This is a 10 out of 10 Dan outfit for me. I love this jumper so much.
Same. We've talked about it. We love this jumper.
We have talked about it. It's a great Dan jumper.
Yeah. It's one of his first, I think, like, designer. Not one of his first, but that's when he was, like, wearing a lot of designer stuff. Just so good. So nice. 10 on 10 for me as well. Lovely.
And Phil is wearing his, like, Avengers t-shirt that's really boring, and I'm giving it a 4 out of 10. Sorry.
Yeah. 3.5, 4. Yeah, well. Boo! Boring, boo. Sloppy, lazy.
Try harder, Phil.
I love the t-shirts they were wearing in Dan's bedroom, like the red and green are very
Yeah, that was
yeah.
very cute.
Yeah, lovely. Before there was black and blue, there was red and green. I feel like.
And finally, our
Hmm.
video ratings, which I think we stopped doing because it had been so long since we did a video to react to. We sort of forgot that we did video ratings.
Yes, let's bring it back. Series 3.
So we're bringing it back. Fizz.
Hmm.
How many how many fan hugs out of 10 would you give this?
I would give this solid 7 out of 10. It's a very good video and it's very important
Mm-hmm.
to the history. But now we have the Newlyweds Game 24. 2024. So I don't know. It's like good basic stuff to help you catch up on things. But yeah, 7. What about you, Charlotte? How many fan hugs out of 10 would you give this video?
I think I'd also give this 7, like 7.5 maybe. Like it is
Yeah.
really good. It was one of those like, oh my god, we're getting domestic content from Dan and Phil, like
Yeah.
kind of moments. So it does have a very special place, I think, for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. On official channel as well. Like we usually got a bit of domesticity on live shows, and now we get them constantly. They won't shut up about each other. I don't want to sound
Very.
ungrateful, but
No, I think we should sound ungrateful.
they should stop.
They should stop.
Oh,
Please stop the joint content.
please establish some boundaries. We don't need to know all of that.
No, we do not.
Yeah. But back then, we were eating the shit up, guys.
Because I think it's because we didn't get any of it. So like any glimpse into some domestic content, I was like, oh my god, yes, please. I want to know who washes the dishes. Please tell me. And now I'm like, I don't care. I just want to watch your videos for the important informational content. I don't care who washes the dishes.
The information content, exactly. I mean, we're not watching gaming channels to watch them game, but otherwise, yeah.
I am now. I've changed. I'm a changed
Whoa!
woman.
Oh my god,
I'm watching it
seriously?
for the.
Charlotte watches Undertale. Charlotte watches Undertale. Hashtag.
That is
She,
not going to happen.
we'll make it happen. Don't worry, guys. Um, if someone wants to guest on our podcast and insists upon watching Undertale, Charlotte will watch it. Or she
That
just
will be
won't
the
show up.
only time.
It's like, you're not
That'll
gonna
be
show
the
up.
only time. No, I'll just be like, sorry, I'm really busy this day. I'm sick.
I'm sick.
So we've discussed that. We've all been emotionally devastated by 2014, Dan and Phil. Now it's time to be completely and utterly dragged through the mud and drained of all thoughts and feelings by talking about our Phanniversary Newlyweds Game, uploaded on the 25th of October 2024.
Yes. Oh god. Okay. Please take it away.
So essentially, this is the exact same video, just 10 years later, almost 10 years like to the month that they uploaded it, which is a bit crazy, to be honest, if you think about it.
It is. It really is. This was just last month. It was October.
It was. And I'm going to start off with Dan's opening line. Well, not opening line, but one of his opening lines of saying, what is a better way to sum up 15 years of speculation than by doing this video? And to that I say, shut up.
You be quiet.
You be quiet. Look, yes, we've been speculating, but I don't need to know that you know that we've been speculating.
Literally, get out of our house. Get out. Like, look away. We've been doing so well for so many years.
And then not even 0.2 of a second after that, we get a wedding mention.
Oh
Like,
my
no.
god.
I don't need that at all.
Yeah,
Not followed by that.
we are under attack at all times ever in Danville world these days.
And I think Phil mentioned something about we are their third.
We are what?
We are their third, like, in the relationship. And I'm like, I didn't consent to being the third in
God.
this relationship.
Oh, the third. Oh my god. Yeah, no, please don't say that about us. Ew. We are not your third. But also, it answers the question in I Will Go Down with the Ship 2012, where he was like, what do people want when they ship people? Do they want just watch? Do they want to, like, what is it? I guess they think we are in the middle or whatever.
I don't want to be in the middle of that. That would be awful.
It would be so awful. Like,
I'd
where
have a
was
terrible
the.
time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, just from the distance.
So the first question we have in this video, again, this is fresh in my mind. I've watched this video about 4 times, so yeah.
Let's go.
The first question is the one that Phil said as a suggestion on the Instagram story. So, I mean, we should say for people maybe listening to this in like 3-4 years who don't know the context. So they uploaded an Instagram story asking 4 questions for the Newlyweds Game, which again we all lost our mind at, like just out of the blue. What is going on? And one of the example questions that Phil used was, who would be tied to the wall at VidCon?
Casual.
And obviously the answer is Dan Howell. Just Dan, casually, but obviously the answer is Dan, which yeah, obviously it would be him.
Like no need to ask for more. Like, do you think Phil would also, like, we know it's Dan, but like, is Phil joining him?
That Phil is obviously at VidCon as well.
Yes. Okay. Yes. We know because he has a fox head now.
He does, but I think they're in one of those like joint costumes, like a pantomime cow, if you've seen them. So like one of them is the head and one of them is the tail.
Yes, I think.
That's what they're going to. They've got like this really elaborate like fursuit.
Oh my god. Obviously Phil's gonna be like the ass. They're gonna make jokes about Phil's ass and they're gonna be like, yeah, Phil's the ass.
He's the his face is the only one that can do that.
God. Disgusting. Next one.
The next question. Again, we're really ramping it up. We had such lovely, wholesome questions in the 2014 video. Like, oh my god, who would stay up till 5 a.m? And the next question we have is, who is most likely to say, I'm about to bust when something satisfying happens?
Very obvious answer.
Very obvious, Dan. Dan does such a big, loud laugh. And then he says, the way he says this, like, it just really clicks in my brain. Like they're laughing about it, and he's just like, sometimes you are, though. Like, sometimes you are about to bust. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Years of Dan, like, yeah.
And then they also bring up that Phil would also say it, and then they show that video of the paper towel dispenser. And what gets me about this is the synchronized ooh noise they make when it, like, dispenses the towel. And then they do this, like, singy bit at the end of it. But they sing the exact same thing in the exact same tone. And it's absolutely disgusting.
It's so gross. My one note about that...
What do you mean?
My note about that was, I asked myself, so is this a public restroom that they went into together, or was this like a hotel room bathroom that Phil was like, Dan, come in here, look at this paper towel dispenser? Or just like, I love the idea of Phil just calling Dan over and be like, look at this. It's just like, can you do anything by yourselves?
So the next question, possibly my favourite question from this entire video, is who is bossier? And they both say Phil. And we get the iconic stinky baby comment from Dan.
Oh my god, it's so good. And I rewatched this video today, right?
Hmm.
And it's the first time I noticed that Phil like blushes when he hears it. He's like pink in the cheeks.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's so like because I don't think he was expecting Dan to tell the entire world that he calls him a stinky baby. It's so cute, but it's also like, ew, don't tell us that. Ew.
No, I don't want to know your pet names for one another, even if they're all disgusting.
Yeah. Also, it's very funny because in what Dan and Phil text each other, he talks about like, oh, I don't have names for all of my contacts. They're just like first name, last name, and then you drop Stinky Baby on us like 3 years later. How dare you,
How dare you, stinky baby Phil?
Stinky Baby Phil? Oh my god, it's too good.
I love it.
I
It's
love.
changed my life in ways I did not imagine.
That is what Phil promised us in 2009. He's gonna change the
He really
world.
did.
Yeah.
He really did. The next question is, who would accidentally answer the door with no pants on? What a wild question to ask. I presume by pants as well they mean like trousers or
Yes.
jeans in this context.
Yes. Same.
And
But the
not
answer is
like the answer is Phil.
good to know.
And I love the confirmation that Phil walks around the house naked.
Who needs
Like,
clothes?
okay, who needs
Okay.
clothes? Phil's just gonna wear his underwear and have done with it.
Yeah. This also connects to that one live show where everyone thinks they had no pants, trousers on.
Oh my god, do you know what? That would make a lot of sense actually. Yeah.
They're like, just can't be bothered to put actual pants
But then the
on.
thing is, I think we have discussed this live show in the podcast before, but then my question is like, if you know you're doing a live show in front of thousands of people on the internet, you put your trousers on.
Yeah, but we also know that when they do gaming channel videos, they're wearing like the shortest shorts known to man.
Yeah, but that's still
Um,
shorts. It's not like they're just wearing underwear.
that's true. Who
I bet
knows?
they've
Who
done
knows
that.
how these
Do you know what? I bet they have done that as like a thing. Like they've dared each other, be like, "I dare you to do this entire gaming video, like with just your underwear on and a t-shirt."
That's crazy. Why would you put that idea into my head?
Maybe that can be a pre-show question. Have you ever filmed a gaming video in just your underwear and a t-shirt?
My god. That's brave. If that
And
gets
they'd say
in
yeah, and they'd say yes, but they wouldn't tell us what video. They'd make us work for it.
our relationship is so toxic.
The edge, it
The
really
edge.
is.
Don't
The
call
edging
it
of it
that.
all.
Don't call it that. It's not the edging.
Anyway, the next question: who drinks more? I feel
Dan!
like again, obviously Dan. Like, yes, we
Yeah.
know Phil loves his fruity little cocktails, but Dan definitely gives like alcoholic middle-aged woman
My
vibes.
god. Same, yeah. Also, yeah, there's so much content of Dan drinking. Like just
Hmm.
from like sipping alcohol to that drunk live show that he did. Remember that iconic 2012 live show
Yeah,
where he was
yeah,
slightly intoxicated? Beautiful. Um yeah,
and
same
yet,
like
and yet, and yet, Phil is out here. He only needs 2 drinks, and he's money efficient. Capital Leicester strikes again.
yes, exactly. He's we are so similar. I also need like I got drunk last weekend after not drinking for weeks. I had 3 drinks and I was gone. Like just pissed off my tits, let's say. Um
I'm exactly the same. I like
yeah.
2 or 3 drinks, and that's it. I'm happy.
Yeah. I kind of wish I was like Dan where I'm like can I feel anything because I want to know what that's like. But also I'm having a lot of fun. Like I'm very like woo. And I bet Phil is
Yeah.
also.
Well, he is because he's Captain Silly.
He is again amazing lore to have even though we kind of knew. Like we
We
knew.
kind of we knew that Phil was Captain Silly, and he's winning the Silly Billy Award.
Yes. That's such a like I think like Stinky Baby Silly Billy Award, like it's just gems on gems in this video.
It really is. And it's so true. Like, obviously, like, yeah, Phil is more silly. And I'm sat there like, for once I relate to you, Phil Lester. Yes, I'm also Captain Silly. I'm also 2, 3 drinks and I'm done. Let's go. So yeah, Phil, Captain Silly, and then we get Dan's confirmation again that he is a clumsy, horny drunk. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you
Yeah,
are. I know that's right.
yeah. But you know what? They make it worse making that comment about the zipper. It's like, what are you trying to tell us? Please
Yes, oh my
stop.
god. Like, whose zipper is he undoing? Like his own or somebody else's, perhaps?
Both, both, both possibilities are like horrible because why are you taking your own zipper off? And also, why are you taking someone
I mean, I
else's zipper?
presume, I presume it's when
I
he's
mean,
like going to bed. He's taking his own off.
yes, but also, listen, whatever. I also imagine like having silly Billy Phil is not helpful at all if you
Oh,
want
absolutely not. Phil
help
is not helping. Phil
making
is lying down, and passenger princess mode is on, and he's like, "Okay, let's go."
even whilst drunk, he's like, "Go ahead, I'm just gonna sit here pretty." What a
Do you know?
mood!
And do you know what? Yeah, respect to him. Mad respect.
Yeah. Mad respect. Good for Phil.
Yeah, I did make a comment about that one as well. Next question: who's the gayest? And again, I suppose it's a question like I've never really thought about. Like they are both obviously very gay, but I feel like it does make
Yes.
more sense that Phil is the gayest.
Yeah. Like I don't. Yeah, I'd never thought about it before this question, but I like that it gave them pause as well. They were like, what does that mean? Let's ponder. And then they answered. Because, like, if we're gonna get like analytical about it, right?
Hmm.
Dan obviously has very complex feelings about his sexuality and his attraction to people.
He does.
Yeah. Whereas Phil is just like, I saw a man once, I want to kiss his face, and it's been like that ever since.
And as we all know, Phil loves the concept of women.
He loves the concept of women.
That is a quote for a t-shirt. Honestly, one of the best things he has ever said in his life.
I know. Someone give him like you said, like a T-shirt that says that he can wear around the house. I love the concept. What if a feminist king, if there ever was one?
Honestly, yeah. I think I saw someone tweet the other day or post somewhere, does that tit passes the Bechdel test.
Does it? We don't know. And Charlotte doesn't know.
No, I don't know, but I think it does. But obviously, that's the test, like that two women like can meet up and not talk about a man, which like technically
Yeah.
that's what it
I
is.
guess. Yeah. Oh my god.
So well done to them.
A feministpedia.
They really
And it's
are.
called tit.
It's called tit. They did that for the lesbians. Oh, they're
Oh,
so
the
good.
sound bites from this episode.
And the next question: who is most likely to get a tattoo? Again, I thought that neither of them. Like, I didn't think there'd be an answer for this one. So I was surprised that they said Phil.
Yeah, I was surprised that Phil like actively was getting one. I feel
That's
like the
so that he
fandom
got
would have
so close.
broken. Yeah. I don't know how he would have handled something like that
That would have been crazy.
intensely. Do you think they'd get matching tattoos?
That's absolutely disgusting. No, I don't want to think about that.
Ugh, sorry. I just had a thought. But my answer to that is that no, they wouldn't.
Yeah, I hope they don't. I don't want to think about that. And I think if they would, it would be somewhere like super hidden and they wouldn't tell us.
Yeah, same. I don't. It'd be only in a place where the other could see. and no one else. Sorry.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to think about the implications of that sentence, Fizz.
Permanent demon corner. Everyone, congratulations.
Yeah, we discussed the idea of having a demon Fanny corner, and we've decided to make it a permanent thing. If they're going to be unhinged about themselves, I think we should be allowed to as well.
Exactly.
So I love the line after this. So the question after this, is who's most likely to have the next medical emergency? Again, we're sort of going back into the territory of them picking questions specifically for a person. Because obviously the answer to this one is Phil.
Phil, yeah.
But I loved the answer. They were talking about like Phil's healed rib. And Dan is like, is it healed or are you done getting attention for it now?
He's such an asshole. Like, can I just say, like, that is so mean.
It is, but I made the comment, Phil and his Higo passenger princess little baby wants some attention. He's like, please look after me, Dad.
Yes, exactly. It's such a Phil thing. But it's so mean. I can't imagine saying that to any of my friends. Like, oh, are you done getting attention for your very serious injury? Huh? Like, whoa. They are surviving so many things.
They are, but obviously we know that Dan isn't being like fully serious about it. And they've obviously joked about that themselves.
Obviously, yeah, but again, I'm just not British enough for this. I'm not British at all, first of all. But I don't know. It just feels like a boundary being it's my boundary being crossed. I'd be like, excuse me? How dare you? It's very funny though.
Next question we have. Who is better at time management? And my answer for this one immediately was Phil, because I always think of the video where Dan nearly blinded himself and he hadn't packed for the airport. Yes. And Phil is like, there's like the skit of Phil being like, dude, hurry up, we're going to miss his flight. So I was surprised that they said each other.
Yes. And they were so like, I think Dan's whole thing was very petty. I appreciated the domestic anecdotes, but I think he was being way more petty about it, because I think Phil, because he handles so many logistics, he naturally is more efficient.
Yeah.
Like, if the only thing he's doing is putting on his shoes, then
he's old. He's an old man now. He has to take a while to put his shoes on.
Exactly. And I'm sure he also accounts for it sometimes. He's like, oh, it's going to take me like some time.
Also, Phil is so sickly and ill. Like, give him a break.
Perhaps. Maybe Dan should help him put his shoes on.
Maybe.
Has he ever thought of that?
Maybe. I don't think he has.
Maybe. No, he's just like, no, you can do it yourself. What's the next? Do you have anything more?
The next note that I made was Phil saying the phrase, mark my territory, and then going, piss.
Ew!
But I don't remember what that was in context to.
Oh my god, I don't either. Oh my god.
The next question is who snores more when sleeping, but that doesn't have anything to do with that. I think it was to do with the time management question. I think they said something.
They're always saying something.
God. And then we move on to who snores more when sleeping. It's Phil. Phil snores more. Again, that wasn't my go-to answer. Yeah, I didn't really have an answer, to be honest, for this one.
Mine was Phil. I would have assumed Phil. I don't know why. He just gives off snorer energy. I think Dan... Yeah, no. First of all, Dan doesn't sleep that much, so...
that's true, actually.
Snoring. Yeah.
Do you think Phil is a honk shoer or a me?
Me. That was so out of nowhere. Sorry. I think Amazing Phil is I think he's a honk shoe.
Oh, see, I'd go me, and I think Dan is a honk shoe.
Really? Oh wait, I see your
Yeah.
vision. I see your vision actually. Can
Dan
you
gives
do it
honk
in
shoe
sync like
vibes.
that? Like Dan goes honk shoe and then Dan and Phil goes.
And they make the bunk beds on the tour bus, and like the other people on their bus are like, "Oh, what the fuck are they doing?"
I also am very surprised that all of them are apparently in bunks this time around. Just apparently because
Yeah,
he
they're like really
referenced a
squished
bunk.
in there.
Yeah, crazy. Um, Good
Our
luck to
next
them.
question, possibly again one of my favourites from the whole thing: who starts
Mm.
more arguments? And the fact that they both put each other is so funny and so them.
So expected, yeah. Like it's so them to do that. But whose side are you on? For based on their arguments.
Based on their arguments. I'm trying to remember now what they said. I think Dan has like a valid point, like if he's making observations, but I don't think that
Hmm.
that like counts as an argument. I think that's just him saying things to be like a little bit petty sometimes, but Phil
Yeah.
takes that he's arguing.
Yes, I agree. Um, I really appreciate the knowledge that Phil says, "Don't talk to me like that," or what? Don't
That was
yeah, don't
so
talk to me
good.
like
Yeah,
that.
that
What an
changed my life,
insane
him
thing to
saying
tell
that.
us. Same.
Honestly.
Yeah. Like whoa, I can't imagine him saying it either. So it like makes it even more crazy. I'm like, whoa, what kind of conversations or fights have you had where he's like, don't talk to me like that? And how serious is it? Like to be a fly on the wall during a Dan and Phil argument. Wow.
And like the thing is I can pick I bet Phil, like if he does get properly angry, he is like
Hmm.
actually angry. Because I bet it so rarely
Yeah.
happens. So like I can picture him saying that to Dan.
Interesting. I really can't. I don't know why. I feel like they both might just go a bit silent, but it also makes sense that they might be like loud arguers. I don't know.
And then the conclusion to that whole discussion, I love Phil saying the phrase "breezy Susan." It's so funny. Um, that Dan
Yeah.
needs to be a breezy Susan, and then just the whole thing ending with like Phil basically gaslighting Dan into thinking that he starts the arguments, and Dan is like, "I think I've just been gaslit." I'm like, "That's so Phil."
Is this a Phil ego thing as well? Like he's just so manipulative,
Yeah,
affectionate. I'm not being serious. Like, please don't take this out of context. Um, he's just playing mind games. That's just Phil in his little world.
okay, next question. Who kills the spiders? Who kills and removes the spiders? Again, I mean,
Obviously,
I suppose I'm not because we have evidence from Phil, but again, I was still a bit like, I don't know, maybe they both do it, but yeah, Phil.
Phil. We also have Phil versus praying mantis. On Less Amazing Phil, so we
We
know
do.
that he does at least more often than Dan. But I think this confirms that Dan never kills or catches bugs.
Next question, we have who is
Next
more
one.
likely to stand up for the other when the restaurant gets their order wrong? Again, I felt this was a very sort of obvious one. I think Dan is probably more likely to be a bit confrontational in these situations. But then
Yes.
I also get the vibe that Phil could definitely be like a Karen sometimes. Like he'd definitely kick off if something was wrong.
Yeah, maybe not at a restaurant. Maybe it's for something else. Um, like if I imagine like if they ordered something online or something, he's more likely to send an email and be like, "Hey, um, this is wrong. Give me my money back, or send me something for free, and we'll be good." He's like
Oh,
one of those
absolutely.
people. Yeah. But for a restaurant, yeah, I can definitely see Dan being like, he asked for no pickles.
Next question, who's more likely to be lurking on social media? I was very surprised at this one. I was very surprised they said Phil.
Really? I thought it was pretty obvious. I think Phil is way more online than Dan is.
He is, but I think like I'm just going off the image we have of Dan from like 2012
Mm-hmm.
to 2014. Like he's always been more
Fair.
of like an internety person, and like he knows the memes, and he knows like stuff that's
Mm.
going on, which I guess he sort of
Yeah,
said in
with
the video
us.
anyway. He was like he's more up to date with like pop culture and stuff. But
Yeah.
Dan just definitely gives me more like, oh my god, I'm going to be on Tumblr and I'm going to scroll through Twitter on things.
Yeah, but I think that's what. So he had said, like, I know he was joking, but he's like, y'all traumatized me. And I think he does keep that distance. I think it's healthier for him to do that. I imagine this is a therapist thing also, where
Oh yeah, yeah, I
his therapist
agree.
must have been like, please stay off your tag or like don't check your indirects and stuff. I think it's a lot healthy and good for him. I think Phil just enjoys being in the know. He's very nosy. We know this. Amazing Phil is a very nosy person. Um, and because of how algorithms work and the fact that he's now addicted to TikTok, um, I think he just knows a lot more about us. Like he also mentioned in one of the pre-shows, he brought up a Formula One fan fiction, and it's like, why do you know
Yeah,
that? Why do you know that? Go away.
but yeah, interesting. I like the idea of Phil like finding things out and then he'll just go and tell Dan. That's how that
Yeah,
works.
yeah, yeah. That's very funny.
The next one is who is a bigger nerd? Obviously Dan. Again, they discussed this in a previous gaming channel video anyway, and they said the
Hmm.
exact same thing, that Dan is more nerdy but Phil is more dorky,
Yes.
which I agree with.
Same. Very
Um,
good.
the next one, insane question of them: which one of you is that alpha? And the fact that they both say each other, like they say themselves.
Yes. I don't. The thing is, like, when they did this, obviously they mean like the whole masculinity, alpha, beta, sigma, like the type of man you are. I just, do they know about the Omega verse? Like, do they know about, you know,
I
Mpreg?
don't know,
They know about
because
Mpreg, but
they
like,
because they made a comment, don't they, that they didn't know what one was. So I'm like, are you sure you
ooh,
don't know? Are you just pretending?
yeah. Like, we have no, I mean, we have no boundaries anymore, so you can tell us if you read or have seen.
Yeah, you can tell us, that's fine. Also, again,
It's
I think
fine.
it's so funny that they both disagree who the alpha is, because I don't think either of them are alphas.
Same, same. I think they are two Omegas that are bonded for life. Unfortunately. But I think Phil just, can I say something like very like out of line or whatever? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know.
Yeah,
I think
go
Phil
on.
I think Phil wants to be pregnant so bad.
No, he does, you're right.
Right? Like,
He's the one always bringing up breeding in Dragon City. So, what's he
exactly,
trying to tell us?
exactly. Like, I don't know if it's giving, I don't know. I feel comfortable saying that he wants to be impregnated.
You can say that on the podcast. This is a safe space.
Thank you, thank you.
No judgments from me. Phil also saying in like conjunction with this that he doesn't like being told what to do, and that's why he doesn't go
Oh,
to like fitness classes.
Phil ego.
So Phil.
Yeah.
He's been put up on this pedestal that he's put himself on, and other people around him cough, Dan, cough, cough. So of course he doesn't want to be told what to do. That's why he
Yeah.
thinks he's an alpha, but he's not. I'm
Yes.
sorry, Phil.
He's he's not. He can pretend. He can play around with it. I also, one of my favorite quotes in the video is the delivery of um when they talk about like someone telling Phil to do a squat and he's like, fuck you. Because I can see it so clearly in my head. I don't think he's saying it out loud, but in his head he's like, no, fuck you, I'm not doing that. Um, yeah, I'm obsessed. This is my spin class now, or whatever it was that they were saying.
Yeah, I remember.
So good.
um, Next question. Oof. Who's more likely to flirt with the waiter? One, two, three. Obviously, Phil
So
Lester.
obviously, anyone could have. I think he flirts with everyone.
He would flirt with a wall. if it talked to him. Even if it didn't, he'd be like, hey, look at you.
It's so true.
And again, we have his ego at play here. Like, I think he just likes the attention.
Yes. My okay. So can I bring something up that's so funny because I was talking about this earlier with a friend of mine, but there's this
Mm-hmm.
old Phil tweet from 2009, like May 2009, right? Um, so it goes. I went out and bought milkshake. I fell in love with the cashier. Plastic bag on hot oven melt. I have hot water. It is sunny. Um, Unhinged, chaotic. The part I want to focus on is I fell in love with the cashier. And my friend asked, "Do you think he often falls in love with cashiers?"
Absolutely.
100%. It's just he just loves people who serve him, who do things for him.
That's so
Doctors,
true.
doctors. Who else has he like called hot?
I mean,
Dentists.
anyone. Yeah, anyone and everything that moves.
He
He
flirts with the
loves the
mailman.
attention. Yeah,
Yeah,
he just loves the attention, I think.
he'd be
And
making
then,
eyes at all of them. It's so funny.
and I love the way that he defends himself. He's like, oh, what if they make eyes at me? Obviously, I'm going to do it back. And I'm like, well, you don't have to. No one's
You don't
forcing you
have
to
to.
do that.
You literally. Oh,
And then we get the complete opposite of this, of like Phil being like, Dan is completely oblivious to it. And I'm like, yeah, of course he is. He's been locked down since 2009. Like, he ain't looking at
that's
no other man.
yeah. Like we have not seen anything but the right side of Dan's face for like 3 years. We have not like all he does is look at Phil. Does Phil know? Like, is he aware? No, he's too busy flirting with Kyle the waiter and Sam the
Yeah,
surfer.
literally. Dan just has not looked at another man since 2009. I wrote the note, Phil has got him whipped and on a very tight leash.
On, I don't think he's even aware of the leash that he has on Dan.
No.
Imagine if Dan like flirted with another man in front of him.
Oh, I think that would blow up some like alarm signals or something for Phil. He'd be like, whoa, what are you doing? You're mine.
Yeah, actually, yeah. He's lucky Dan like doesn't pay attention. Because have
Just
you
so
seen?
fascinating. I
You
think as well, I
know?
mean, I suppose there is like a psychological thing to it in the sense that I don't think Dan likes attention like that in that way. Like as
Mm,
much as he portrays that image online that he wants all this attention from men, I think in real life he doesn't want anything to do with that.
yeah, same. I also think that Dan is very much like the chaser when he want because that's how we got Dan and Phil. Um, like he likes to be the one doing the propositioning, if you will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It also, you know that story about the turtleneck. Just one last thing, where the guy was like, "I want your sweater or whatever. I want your jumper."
Oh my
Like
god, yes! I
that was
completely forgot about
clearly
that.
that was clearly him flirting with him, like very weirdly. But that was a flirt. That wasn't just like someone being
Yeah,
a freak. Yeah, and he didn't know. Did anyone
he's
else? That story
oblivious.
is just yeah. He's like, "Oh, sorry, it's mine. I'm not giving it to you." It's fair enough. Yeah.
And then
Next.
on the flip side, the next question is who's more likely to become a stripper? And obviously it's Dan.
Yeah. No commitment, just being sexy and hot for
OnlyFans
people.
Dan when? Please.
When 2025.
I would be subscribing. I'm
I will
already
be
subscribed in my mind.
amazing. Good for you, Charlotte. You'd be pledging. You'd be like, I'm supporting any and all future endeavors.
If he wants me to leave him a deposit for it, I can do that for him.
Wow, you don't need to be doing all that. He owns property in London, he's fine.
Yeah, but if he wants like a deposit to like start the OnlyFans, like if he needs some incentive, I can give that.
Okay, Charlotte, you do that.
Next question. Who's most likely to leave their hair on a shower wall? Such a bizarre question for them to choose. And I love that they
Yes,
both again pick each other.
yes. I don't really have an opinion on this. I'm like, I think I don't think either of them, because the reason is because like they haven't thought about it. So I'm like, okay, so they've never done it.
Yeah. I think if it was going to be anyone, I'd pick Phil. I think just because he'd do it and then just forget about it, which I do sometimes, like when
Yeah,
I'm like brushing my hair in the shower.
yeah, same.
Like I'll put it on the shower wall and I'll forget about it. And I think that's probably the reason why it would be Phil. Not
Yes,
that he'd leave it on purpose, he'd just forget.
yeah. I mean, yeah, cabinet door open guy would leave hair on the
Yeah,
shower wall.
exactly.
Yeah,
Again, we get our follow-up question. So we had this in the 2014 one. Who has the worst sense of direction? Obviously, it's Phil. Phil doesn't know where he's
obviously.
going or where he's been.
Nothing has changed. There's nothing going on up there, so he's like, I'm going here. I'm being Phil.
This is what I mean. He just floats along. He gets everyone to do everything for him.
What a life to lead. I know we say this
Honestly,
every episode.
to be Phil Lester.
Oh my god, he's like set for life, and like touch wood, good for him.
Honestly, good for him. Absolutely good for him.
Yeah,
Okay, the next question we have is who has the highest screen time?
Phil. I would have predicted this. Actually, back in the day, we wouldn't have.
No, I think we probably would have said Dan. But again, I suppose
Yeah,
this goes hand in hand with the who lurks more on like social media.
yes. But they did admit that they both have pretty high screen times, which comes with the job, but also like they're internet goblins. So it makes
Yeah.
sense.
And I just love Phil's comment as well. That like Dan has to be like listening to something or watching something at all times.
Yeah.
Whereas Phil is quite content to raw dog doing the laundry.
Ugh.
In no, thank you.
Please use another word. But on the subject of that, who are you most like? Are you like Dan or are you like Phil?
Um, I don't know. John, I if I'm like tidying my room, I have to like listen to some music. But
Mm,
I'd say I'm probably more like Dan in the sense that I don't do it to like drown out the thoughts. I just like having music to accompany things that I do.
same, same. I can I can do laundry without anything because I'm
Yeah,
usually like very exhausted when I'm doing laundry. But everything else, same. I have to have like a TV show on or something.
yeah. I caught a train this week and I forgot my headphones. I'd left my headphones at home, so I had to sit an hour-long train journey with no headphones, and it was the worst experience of my entire life.
It sounds horrible. I was on a flight uh last weekend, not last weekend, last Monday, and same. My earphones just died, so I had to do a flight without anything. I had a book, but that's not the same. It's really horrible.
That sounds awful.
Yeah.
And the final question. What a question to end on. Imagine if we'd got this in the 2014 one. Whom's ass claps the hardest? I mean, obviously the answer is Phil.
Obviously, yeah. Um, their tour manager or stage manager answered this question.
Yeah, their stage manager, Bubbly Ben,
Mm,
of Bubbly Ben fame.
yes. Uh, just hilarious that they picked that question from it. And they don't even use it like in the right context. They're just like, we are going to give you the we're going to answer this question, but you're not going to like it.
So yeah, so they end the video on that question, and that is it. I think overall, I mean,
Mm,
I do prefer this video. The vibes in it are so much better, and I think that that's just
yeah,
because it's like a Dan at Phil Games video and not some stage thing for a VidCon like YouTube convention.
yeah,
But
100%.
and obviously they're so much more confident and like comfortable with who they are now than they were back then. But it's just wild to like compare the question choices. Like the question they chose in this one are just so much more. I'd say they're more personal, but like I feel like we just like learned more about them and who they are, and there's like more of an insight into their lives.
Yes. I also wonder if some of these questions were asked back in the day, but they didn't choose them. And now they're like, okay, yeah, we can answer this one now. I don't know.
Because, like, at the end of the day, like, the question's like, oh, who starts the most arguments? Who's bossier? Like, they could have done that back in 2014, but I don't think they would have because they didn't want to let people in too much.
Yeah.
I don't know if that felt, like, too personal back then.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Same. Vibes were so much better.
Vibes are so much better. Speaking of vibes, shall we have some outfit ratings?
Let's do it. Let's rate some outfits.
Fizz. So Dan is wearing the it's a Jaded London like sports jersey that's got a star on the front. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. I love it. It's an excellent
Yeah.
t-shirt.
Yes, same. I love it. Go sports. I'm giving it a 9 just to be like a bit stingy for no reason.
Wow, you're
Um
so mean.
hey, Dan can handle it. It's a great t-shirt. This is harder. It's harder to rank outfits now because they are better at dressing themselves.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah. Phil.
Phil is wearing the plaid like quarter zip thing that I will say a lot of people don't like, but I really like it.
Why not? I love it. They almost
Yeah, I
yeeted
love
this
it.
from that video.
They did, and I'm glad they didn't because I love it.
Same. I love it. That's a 10 on 10 for me. No
10 out of
notes.
10.
Yeah.
And we move on to the final video ratings for this episode. Fizz, how many fasses out of 10 would you rate this?
10. I would be surprised if you give it anything other than 10.
Yeah, it's a 10 from me as well.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I think just the sheer audacity from them to call it the Newlyweds Game. Like, even a year ago, I'd be like, whoa, they're never going to do that.
Yeah, same. Even this year, like 6 months ago, I'd be like, no. No way.
Yeah.
The Newlyweds Game? Like, the hell? Crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's just really interesting that we watched like both of these and they are the same video format, just how far they've come in those like 10 years. Like it's obvious, it's so obvious to say like, yeah, they've changed completely in 10 years, but I think being able to watch these two videos and like compare how they answer the questions, the type of questions that they're answering is just crazy.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's just, I don't know. Even the way they were filming it were like, you can argue like, okay, it's in front of an audience and not, but I would say if they did this in front of an audience, there wouldn't be that much of a difference between, how they recorded it in the room as opposed to the audience. I think they would be much more comfortable
Oh,
answering
absolutely.
the same way. Um, yeah.
I suppose the only thing we can compare this to is the like the pre-show Q&A stuff that they do, because I suppose this is like very similar of someone asking them questions.
Yes. Like it's the same type of questions, but yeah, I would agree. Pre-show is also like chaotic in terms of just like we are getting more unhinged as the shows go on.
We really are. So I feel like we're going to get to the end of tour and it'll just be like, who buys the lube for the bedroom? Can we include that? Is that...
Yes, I think you know what, we can be brave and we can include that.
We're all thinking it.
I would okay. This is, if anyone is going to date Charlotte, you are free to ask this, but you're asking so many questions. It's fine. But if anyone's going, can you ask who sleeps on which side of the bed?
Oh
Or
my
like
god, that is such a
ask
good
it
question.
ask it in a way that like they would answer. Like just be like, which side of the bed do you sleep on? Do you sleep on the right or do you sleep on the left? Like make it seem like you're asking them separately, because I mean, I sleep alone in a bed and I sleep on the left side, so like you can ask and make it seem like it's like one person, but
You
it's
watch,
very
they will
like,
both say, "Oh, we both sleep on the right," and we'll be like, "Okay,
no,
sure you do."
no, like I want to be hopeful, like just please, for me, if you can, please ask them.
Please ask for Fizz.
Please.
Anyway, shall we wrap
Yeah.
this up? This has been our longest record yet.
Yet.
If
What
you've
a way to
stuck
come
with
back.
us, honestly, if you've stuck with us to the very end, let us know. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for listening to the past 2 series of this, and we hope you enjoy series 3. We're going to have some fun episodes coming up. We're hopefully going to have some guests come and join us. If you would like
Yes.
to join us, let us know. It would be really fun to have some different opinions and people on here to discuss their videos.
Always. Yes, like Charlotte said, thank you so much for listening. Shall we go? But also before that, let me tell you what we're doing next.
Yes, tell us what we're doing next.
Next episode is quite a fun one. It's very different to what we usually do, which I feel like is becoming a theme because we've done 2 videos in this episode. But next episode, we are discussing Less Amazing Phil, because this is the period of time where they sort of were uploading like minute, 2 minute long vlogs.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be discussing that era of just them doing things, just doing anything. Yeah, so that's the next episode.
It's going to be a good one.
It will.
Thank you all so much for listening today,
Thank you.
and
Bye.
we'll see you very soon. Goodbye.
Goodbye.